Yes, fishermen are said, or fisher people, are said to be reeling over the impact of increased EU access to British waters as part of the UK's so-called reset deal with the bloc.
Well, GB News reporter Jack Carson joins us from Sutton Harbour, where he brings, he's been speaking about the impact to locals there. Jack, what can you tell us?
Well, a lot of fishermen that we've spoken to this morning very unhappy that they feel like they weren't consulted on this EU reset deal, which increased the European Union's access to British waters for another 12 years. From next year, it's meant to be a year-on-year negotiating basis in order to make sure for fishermen here that they felt like they were protected. Now, the government say that this deal will protect fishing communities, as well as another £400 million to go into investment in coastal communities. But let's find out what people here, because it's not just the fishermen that are here as well. We're here in Sutton Harbour. You've got all of the nets around, of course, that go out, and some of the fishing trawlers as well, but it's also the merchants that then sell the fish on. Rob Goodacre from RG Seafoods, been running this business since 1993. What was your reaction when you'd heard on this deal that fishing rights extended for another 12 years?
Oh, it's just a feeling of dread again. You know, it's was already stuck in a bad deal and waiting for that to end and hopefully have a better negotiation, and it's just been taken out of everyone's hands in one go, one foul swoop.
What do you see the impact being over the next 12 years as that guaranteed access to UK waters, continues?
Well, essentially, our stocks are mostly going to be going to Europe rather than us being able to look after our own stocks and decide how we fish our own grounds and so on. Basically, we've got no choice in the matter now. It's completely out of our hands.
And a lot of fishermen have told us how angry they were, how they feel betrayed. Do you echo those as a merchant yourself?
Yeah, I mean, any less fish that's coming into the UK is detrimental to the fishing industry, full stop, in every aspect of it. And for us, if there's less fish on the markets, then that means higher prices. And just, yeah, it's not great at all. It's more a feeling of dread rather than anger. It's like almost if it's just happened.
And of course, coastal communities like this, like here in Plymouth, depend a lot on the fishing industry. It's a very high concentration, the fishing kind of economy here in the UK, and it's highly concentrated in places like this. What do you think could happen, going forward in the future here in Plymouth? Do you worry about the next generation of fishermen here?
Most definitely. I mean, there is a whole generation now which are basically being pinned back by this deal. I think what it's going to mean is we're going to end up with a smaller inshore fleet and larger offshore fleets, just to be able to sort of be in direct competition with these boats which are on our grounds. And
if you're the man in charge, you're Keir Starmer, you're in the room making these deals, what are some of the things that you would want to see that maybe we haven't seen yet? What are some of the things you'd maybe like to see change in order to improve the lives of yourself and the fishermen here in Plymouth?
It would have been better if we could have pushed the limit a little bit further out, so that our boats do have a border, so to speak, in the sea which we fish up against, and maybe cut back on the larger foreign boats which are working on our grounds.
Just describe the situation as it is now then. You say you'd like a kind of bit of an extension there. What's the situation now with how close those from the European Union can come and fish into our waters?
Well, those boats are coming in within the 6 mile limit at the moment and fishing right up, actually inside some of our larger boats which can't fish in that far because of their size and horsepower. We've got the French boats, Spanish boats, more French than Spanish, some Dutch boats which are fishing inside our own boats. It's quite ludicrous.
And so going forward, are you worried about the future of your business?
Locally, our market is closed in the last 12 months just due to the volume, and so yeah, trepidation is the way I'd look at it. Is where we go from here. We're having to buy from further afield, which is more cost to the business, makes the product more expensive, which is always a bigger problem for all of us.
Rob Goodacre from RG Seafoods, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and giving us that perspective. And it's multiple people as well as Rob that have told us exactly the same thing. There is a real worry around this deal and the future for places here like Plymouth.
Yeah, they're just, caught in the crosshairs of it all. Thank you so much, Jack Carson. How do you plan? You get up so early in the morning, the fishermen work really hard, a physically laborious job, and you just get pushed to and fro, battered and bruised by various governments deciding things on your behalf, and you just got to deal with it and hope that somehow you're going to still be able to earn a crust.
And the worst thing is the politicians keep telling you it's going to get better. You know, you vote for
Yeah.
Brexit in 2016 because you're going to get control of the waters.
True, yeah.
Then there's a delay because there's a negotiation period. And then upon the negotiation period, there is a transition period. You're going to get control of the waters in 2026, you're told. And then and here we are in 2025, and you think next year, that's the year we're going to have control of our waters because the transition period has concluded, the one that Boris Johnson negotiated. And then Keir Starmer comes along and says, oh, no. We're going to push this until the end of the 2030s because we want to get a deal where the Europeans are nicer to us. And we've just completely pushed your access to your own waters for another, 2 decades?
Crazy. I don't think this government understands incentives. You know, people don't get out of bed at 4 a.m. or whatever it is for fun. They get up because they think that they're going to be able to earn a good living out of it, and they want to keep their job alive, and potentially, you know, future family members might join in as well. You actually have to be incentivised in one way or another and not just battered, if you're going to continue to work and do the right thing.
Fishermen are reeling over the impact of increased EU water access, or at least continued access is the deal to British waters. Jack Carson is in Plymouth. Jack, what's the latest?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to you both. Well, we're on a trawler in Plymouth today because we're finding out from fishermen and people that work in this industry, the reset deal that Keir Starmer signed with the European Union to give access to British fishing waters for the European Union for another 12 years, exactly how it's impacting people here. Let's speak to John Jacklin, who's been a fisherman for 44 years, he tells me. What was your reaction, to that additional access that European Union have now got?
Well, I was rather disappointed because no fishermen were consulted about it whatsoever, and it also cuts the fishing ground down for English boats as well, because they're allowed to fish here now up to the 6 mile limit, where they should be outside the 12 this year, I think, when we left the EU. So they've sold us down the river for some kind of deal with the EU about import and export, I think, something like that.
And what's going to be the impact for you? Is it a sense of less fish for you to try and catch?
It's not so much the less fish, it's just the French boats fish here all the time. They don't fish their own waters. They're here 365 days a year. They go in harbour and they're only in harbour for eight hours, then back to sea. Where these boats will come in, have a couple of days off, so they're not fishing all year round to give the chance to breed. But the Frenchmen just annihilate the grounds, and they can fish now up to the 6 mile again, where all the local boats in Plymouth are not getting a good deal out of that because they're catching all the fish and taking it to France.
Right, John Jacklin, thank you for giving us that brief overview of exactly the impact that this deal is going to have here in Plymouth.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.